This time, I'll be using the Golem from Dragon Quest as a Pokémon in Ruby. The Golem is a recurring monster featured in almost every Dragon Quest game. It's also an early boss in Terry's Wonderland and its 3DS remake. Its base stats as a Pokémon are converted from its growth tables used in the original Monsters games, and coincidentally, it's almost a carbon copy of Rhydon, with a little more HP and less defense. Table 6 grows quickly before level 17, so I buffed its special attack slightly. It will have 119 HP, 132 attack, 105 defense, 54 special attack, 44 special defense, and 44 speed, for a total of 498. Stat growths in the Dragon Quest games use lookup tables, and higher indices don't necessarily mean better stats. For example, 12 and 18 are two of the best, while 13 and 19 are really bad. Also, most tables don't grow at a steady rate, with the two clear dividers being levels 17 and 42. However, this is impossible or at least impractical to simulate in Pokémon, which uses a fixed formula, so I'll just keep things simple. Its level-up attacks are loosely based on its materialist skill set in the 3DS remake. Crush Claw is the closest move to Helm Splitter, as Rock Smash is an HM in this game with only 20 power, and Acid makes no sense. Fire Punch is because it gets Frizzmeister as a trait. Mirror Coat is a substitute for Magic Counter, although the user still takes damage. All basic solo run rules apply. I'm not using Hidden Power due to its luck-based nature in this generation. I will set up a Golem with a neutral nature, perfect IVs, and pre-applied EVs. Natures are pointless when I can edit the base stats directly if they need a buff or nerf. Its EVs will be evenly split between attack, special defense, and speed. Its typing will be rock and fighting, since it's just a humanoid pile of bricks. It's actually a terrible combination, with 6 weaknesses. Thankfully, the fairy type didn't exist yet. Its ability is obviously Rock Head. Even its skill set is called Rock Head in Japanese. I put it in the 1.25 million experience group, just like Rhydon. It levels up slowly in the original Monsters games on the GBC as well. The fighting type is handy against the first gym, since rock doesn't resist itself, but fighting resists rock. However, its weakness to flying and psychic will only become a liability later on, not to mention that most fighting moves are awful in this gen, with either bad accuracy or some kind of penalty. I thought close combat was in this gen, but no, only superpower, which is much worse as it lowers attack. I have nothing good against Roxanne's Pokémon, but I do have Screech to cut their defense. Also, the AI in this gen treats moves like Rock Tomb and Icy Wind as speed debuffs, not damaging attacks. So it will stop using them as soon as I become slower, regardless of my weaknesses or resistances. Her Nosepass is easier because it doesn't resist rock, and its attack stat is just horrendous. I'm not going to use the Rock Tomb TM. It has the same power as Rock Throw in this gen, but double the chance to miss, so it's not even reliable as a speed debuff. Thanks to my experience group, I'm only level 17 for the fighting gym. I'm weak to fighting, but I have good enough HP and defense to survive a few hits, and I can use takedown without recoil damage. I'll just open with Harden to shore up my defense, since takedown doesn't have perfect accuracy. The Golem uses Psych Up and Multi-Fists as a boss in the 3DS remake, but there are no equivalent moves in Pokémon. Charge only affects electric moves, while Comet Punch and Arm Thrust are just horrible, and they don't even work the same way as Multi-Fists. Brawly gives the TM for Bulk Up, which I can learn, but I will save it for later. The second rival battle should be quite easy, despite my typing disadvantage against his entire team. His Numel doesn't know any ground move yet, his Wailmer only knows Water Gun, and his Grovyle only knows Absorb. I don't think any of them except the Grovyle can survive a hit anyway. Well, his Wailmer survived a Rock Throw, but can anyone explain why the AI would ever pick Splash over other moves? It's not even water type. I had to grind a bit on the nearby trainers to learn Submission for Watson. It's a terrible move with only 80% accuracy, but at least I get stab on it, and my rock head prevents its recoil damage. I should be able to one-shot everything on his team with submission, provided I don't miss. But I probably will, so I'll equip a cherry berry for some insurance. Luckily, his Voltorb didn't paralyze me, and I didn't miss submission, so it was an easy win. Shockwave sounds like a move that all heavy Pokémon can learn, so I made it compatible. Shockwaves travel along the ground, so I've no idea why it's not ground type. I learned Crush Claw, which is the closest move to Helm Splitter, with a 50% chance of lowering the target's defense by 1 stage. Interestingly, Rhydon can also learn it through breeding. The Golem similarities to Rhydon are another reason why I didn't make it a rock and ground type, even though I'd much rather have stab ground moves instead. Anyway, the first Maxi fight is easy. While his Mightyena has Intimidate to punish physical attackers, his team is just too underleveled for this stage of the game. I used the Shockwave TM just for fun, but it's useless as a coverage move since my special attack is, well, not great, to put it mildly. Flannery is probably the worst gym leader in these games. All of her Pokémon are terribly slow, and Slugma has got to be one of the worst Pokémon ever made until this day. Magcargo is arguably even worse. The only way I could conceivably lose is by getting burned and then losing all my turns to attract, so I'll just equip a berry that heals burn. I suppose paralysis from the Torkoal's body slam could also be a problem, but I don't have access to the Lum berry yet. I should have set up a female monster instead, considering that all enemies that can use attract in this game are female, but I forgot. The Golem is always male when it joins you in the original GBC game anyway. Her Torkoal can obviously survive a rock throw, and I did end up getting hit by attract, but I didn't get paralyzed, and it couldn't do much damage. I made the Overheat TM compatible, since the Golem gets Frizzmeister as a trait in the remake. It could be useful against things like Skarmory, but again, my special attack is pretty bad. Norman's Gym is another one that I can't really lose, as long as I don't miss on his second slacking and get pummeled by Focus Punch. Facade from his first one does nothing due to my resistance and good defense stat. Weirdly, his second one also picked Facade, although it has Focus Punch which is super effective against me. I thought Boss's AI is programmed to always pick optimal moves, but apparently not in this gen, since I've seen it make baffling choices on multiple occasions. I guess when the AI calculates that it has effectively 0 or 100% chance of winning against your current Pokémon, it just picks random moves instead. This can sometimes give you the illusion that it could predict your switching in facilities like the Battle Tower, which it obviously cannot. On a side note, the AI in a lot of fighting games is programmed to read your inputs and respond appropriately. The rival is just a joke at this point, since he's so underleveled and doesn't like to evolve his Pokémon. I'm technically weak against his entire team, but what can he do with such underpowered Pokémon, even when the weather is also on his side? I could learn Overheat for Winona's Gym, but I doubt it could one-shot her Skarmory anyway, thanks to my awful special attack, plus, it has a 10% chance to miss too. Rock Throw one-shots both her Swellow and Pelipper, and Fire Punch does a little more than half to her Skarmory. I have no idea if it was a high or low damage roll, but I don't think Overheat would have one-shot either way, with 130 base power. Wow, I never knew Altaria could learn Earthquake. How can a bird on a cloud use Earthquake? What sense does that make? Speaking of things that don't make sense, Fire Punch is special prior to Gen 4. It's just a worse version of Flamethrower in every way, with 20 less power, and it makes contact. Here's the last rival battle, and he still doesn't have a fully evolved starter. I know they intended for Wally to be your real rival, while the opposite character is just there to support you. But they could have at least given him a full team for this battle, and had Wally fight you one more time. If there was one change I could make to these games, it would be to give the rival characters more importance. Not to the point where they hound you non-stop like in Black and White, but I would give the opposite character a much stronger team, as well as a post-game battle, like Steven in Emerald. Note that Leaf Blade is also special here, which is why Mirror Coat works on it. And Mirror Coat is probably going to be my only chance at beating the Psychic Gym, short of grinding to an obscene level. I grabbed a random HM Mule since I need a second Pokemon to fight this gym, and I will definitely need it to take a hit for me due to my psychic weakness. I also equipped a Chesto Berry in case of Hypnosis. To win this fight, I have to let the Zigzagoon take a hit, Mirror Coat a Psychic to take out one of them, and hope I survive another Psychic. But since the Lunatone used Calm Mind first, this is GG since Submission won't one-shot, and there's no way I can survive a boosted hit. Let's try again and hope for better luck. I thought I just need the Lunatone to not use Calm Mind, but it seems I can't even survive an unboosted Psychic from both. I'll have to equip a Citrus Berry instead, and hope that the Lunatone hits me first to trigger the heal. They have the same speed, so each has a 50-50 chance of going first. If the Solrock goes first on the second turn, this won't work no matter what the Lunatone does, because the Solrock has much lower special attack and won't do more than half to trigger my berry. I tried this fight many times, and I simply wasn't getting the luck required. So, I'll just use a rare candy and see if an extra level will help. And it did, by allowing me to survive an unboosted Psychic from each of them. They could have just gotten low damage rolls, but who knows, and who cares? I'm just glad that's over. Persim Berry is mandatory for the second Maxi fight, but it still could go sideways quickly if his Mightyena burns the berry with Swagger, and his Crobat follows up with Confuse Ray. There's no way I can one-shot his Mightyena at -1 stage of attack after Intimidate, and his Crobat is obviously faster. I should have kept Submission and foregone Mach Punch. Luckily, Crush Claw was a one-shot on his Camerupt after Swagger. And although I missed one rock throw on his Crobat, it simply chose to hit me with Wing Attack instead of Confuse Ray. I fought all the trainers in Wallace's gym, which give good experience. I also learned Brick Break and Bulk Up via TMs, since I won't need Mirror Coat anymore. Wallace could be hard due to his typing advantage, but he opens with a useless Love Disc that can't do any meaningful damage. This means I can just equip a Persim Berry, set up on it until I get confused, and then proceed to sweep his team. Yeah, everything on his team was a one-shot after 2 bulk ups. But imagine if his lead was a Gyarados with Dragon Dance, Thunder Wave and Earthquake, or just something that's not an easy setup fodder. The Water Pulse TM he gives is equally useless at this point of the game. Most Pokemon that can learn it will already have Surf. The only Pokemon off the top of my head that can benefit from it are Persian and Dunsparce, which are not even in this game. The Wally battle at the end of Victory Road is another one that requires good luck. All of his Pokemon can inflict status ailments, like paralysis, sleep, confusion, and the worst of all, Leech Seed. I can set up on his Altaria, but it will likely use Dragon Dance to become faster, and it can paralyze me with Dragon Breath. I got paralyzed on the first time, so this is a loss. I should have equipped a Cherry Berry instead, or preferably a Lum Berry, but the Lum Berries are so out of the way in these games that I simply can't be bothered in most runs. Anyway, I just need to not get paralyzed, since I should be faster than his entire team with my speed intact. And I do get better luck this time. His Altaria chose Safeguard on the second turn, and I avoided paralysis on the third. Everything else on his team should be a one-shot after 2 bulk ups. Maybe 1 would be enough, but I don't know if his Gardevoir has any EVs. Well, it wouldn't have mattered anyway since I landed a critical on it. Here are my stats and moves for the Pokémon League. My HP and attack are great, and my defense is good enough, but the rest of my stats are subpar. I have roughly a 27% chance of winning if I don't make any blunders, because I need to stun Phoebe's first Dusclops with Rock Slide, which is a 30% chance at 90% accuracy. All the other members of the league should be trivial, thanks to my typing and coverage. Sydney's entire team has terrible defense and is weak to fighting, so Brick Break should one-shot everything even after Intimidate. His Shiftry is faster when I have 104 speed after the badge bonus, so it clearly has speed EVs, but fortunately, it didn't use Swagger twice and I didn't miss. His Sharpedo is naturally faster, but it missed Swagger. I need to equip another Persim Berry for Phoebe, since some of her Pokémon know Confuse Ray. There's no way I can one-shot her first Dusclops without a crit, so I have to get a stun with Rock Slide to avoid Curse, which is an instant GG. It does have a chance to use Confuse Ray instead though. Well, I got the stun, so this run should be in the bag if I don't get too unlucky or make a deadly blunder. I forgot about her Sableye Attract, but it's a coin flip, and it can't do much damage. Glacia is basically a free win. She has the worst team in the league, and all of them are weak to both rock and fighting. I just need to equip an Aspear Berry for the odd freeze. By the way, her first Glalie definitely has speed EVs, as it would only have 100 speed otherwise, but it went before me. In comparison, her second one that's 2 levels higher was slower. As far as I know, all in-game AI's Pokémon have neutral natures and fixed 30 IVs in all stats, so the only possible cause of this variance would be EVs. Drake's Altaria and Flygons have Dragon Breath, so I equipped a Cherry Berry for him. I'm likely slower than everything on his team except the Shelgon anyway, so I'm not worried about its Rock Tomb. Three bulk ups should be more than enough to one-shot his Salamence after Intimidate, as well as to discourage his Flygons from using Earthquake, but admittedly I was cutting it close there. I forgot one of the Flygons knows Sand Attack, and that Dragon Claw is special in this gen. Speaking of which, the category split actually already exists in Gen 3, as the shadow moves used in Colosseum and XD have been split into physical and special. So, I have no idea why they couldn't have done the same for other types. Anyway, Steven will be easy. I can just set up on his Skarmory until it uses Toxic, or it might just attack me with Steel Wing, since I'm weak to Steel. I won't need Crush Claw anymore, so I'll replace it with Earthquake. His Claydol could be a problem, but its only attacking moves are physical, and Brick Break destroys Reflect and should do enough damage to two-shot after bulk up. Things didn't start well, as I missed 2 Rock Slides in a row and then failed to one-shot his Skarmory, but it just used Spikes instead of another Toxic. I also put it into Potion range, which bought me another turn to set up. The rest of his team can't do anything. His Claydol resists everything I have, but it has no way to take me out apart from a critical earthquake, which it didn't even go for. So, in conclusion, the Golem did better than I expected, despite its bad special stats and speed. Its additional fighting type might have helped it in some key battles, but it really hurt it in the Psychic Gym, and there's still the lack of good fighting moves in this gen. Next time, I'll try another DQM boss that could be really bad. Thanks for watching.